What if everything you've been told about supercars is a lie designed to keep you spending money you don't need to spend? $80,000, that's the ceiling, that's the line we drew. And what we found on the other side of that line will make you question everything you thought you needed to spend to get the car of your dreams. We are talking about cars that embarrass supercars at track days, cars that hold lap records, cars that were born on rally stages, tested on the Nürburgring, and engineered by people who actually care whether you feel something when you press the throttle. These aren't compromises, these are weapons, 10 of them, all under $80,000. Before we count them down, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like if you live for high performance, and right now, before we even hit number 10, comment your absolute favourite performance car down below. Let's see who takes the crown. This is Revlord, and this is the list you've been waiting for. We are starting this list with something that might surprise you. Not the most powerful car, not the fastest, not the one with the most horsepower per dollar. We're starting with the one that makes you remember why you love cars. The Mazda MX-5 Miata. Under that long hood sits a 2-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine producing 181 horsepower and 205 Newton meters of torque. Those numbers on paper look modest. And if you judge this car on paper, you will completely miss the point, because the Miata weighs just over 1,043 kilograms. That's lighter than a Honda Civic. That's lighter than almost every crossover, every SUV, and most of the performance cars you'll see on this list. And what Mazda understood, what they've understood since 1989, is that lightness is its own kind of power. The 6-speed manual gearbox shifts with a precision that makes you want to find every excuse to use it. The steering doesn't just turn the wheels, it tells you what the road is doing in real time, in language you can feel through your palms. The suspension is tuned so that every corner communicates, every surface speaks. 0 to 100 in 5.7 seconds, a top speed of 217 kilometers per hour, and a starting price of just over $31,000. But you're not buying the Miata for acceleration numbers. You're buying it because it's a sports car in the purest, most honest definition of that phrase. 2 seats, rear-wheel drive, unconvertible roof that goes down in 10 seconds, and a driving experience that no amount of horsepower can simply manufacture. The MX-5 Miata has been in continuous production for over 30 years. It is the best-selling 2-seat convertible sports car in history. Over 1 million have been sold worldwide. It has won more automotive awards than almost any other car ever built. And every single one of those awards was earned the same way, for making whoever sat behind the wheel feel like driving was the best decision they'd made all week. That's why I opened this list, because every great performance conversation starts with this question: does it make you feel something? The Miata answers that question better than almost any car ever made. Number 9, and Toyota has something to say, the GR86, the Gazoo Racing 86, is the result of Toyota finally letting their engineers off the leash. This is the company that built the Supra, the AE86, the Celica, and the 2000 GT, a company with genuine performance DNA that spent years producing reliable, efficient, sensible cars. The GR86 is the moment they remembered who they are. Under the hood, a 2.4-litre naturally aspirated flat-4 boxer engine, 228 horsepower, 249 Newton meters of torque, and it revs freely, enthusiastically, all the way to 7,500 RPM in a way that turbocharged engines simply cannot replicate. That distinction matters more than it sounds. In the current market, turbocharged engines dominate because they produce big torque numbers at low RPM. They feel fast in a straight line, they impress in a 0 to 100 test, but they flatten out the experience. There's a plateau, there's a point where the drama stops. A GR86 has no plateau. From 3,000 RPM to 7,500 RPM, this engine pulls harder, sounds better, and rewards you the more you push it. It's a continuous escalation, a car that gets better the more you ask of it. 0 to 100 takes 6.1 seconds, a top speed of 225 kilometers per hour, rear-wheel drive, a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic, and a starting price of $31,500, barely more than the Miata. But the spec sheet is almost beside the point. What Toyota built here is a chassis, a platform so finely balanced with that flat boxer engine sitting low and forward for a nearly perfect weight distribution that communicates through every input. Steering, throttle, brake, every control has weight, feedback and honesty. The Nürburgring development program left fingerprints all over this car, in the way it flows through corners, in the way the rear settles on the braking, in the way it lets a confident driver get sideways without punishing them for it. This is a car designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. At $31,500, it is one of the greatest values in the history of the sports car. In a world that's rapidly electrifying, turbocharged, and digitally managed, the GR86 is a love letter to what driving was always supposed to feel like. Number 8, and the energy just changed. Everything up to this point has been about feel, about precision, about the art of the lightweight sports car. Now we are talking about something different. We are talking about the Ford Mustang GT. And we are talking about what 5 liters of naturally aspirated American V8 does to your nervous system when you press the accelerator. The Toyota V8, 5 liters, 480 horsepower, 563 Newton meters of torque, 8 cylinders firing in a sequence that produces one of the most iconic sounds in automotive history. A sound you recognize immediately, a sound that does something to your pulse before your brain has even processed what's happening. 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.2 seconds, the quarter mile in the low 12-second range, a top speed electronically limited to 249 km per hour, and that limit is the only thing standing between this car and something significantly faster. Starting price $40,000 for a 480 horsepower rear-wheel drive V8 powered muscle car with a 6-speed manual option and an active exhaust system that makes your neighbors aware of your presence whether you want them to be or not. The Mustang GT is not a car that hides its intentions. It is not subtle. It does not reward patience or ask you to seek out its character at high RPM. It delivers the experience immediately, completely and without reservation. You get in, you start it, and it tells you exactly what it is. 7th generation Mustang, released in 2024, brought significant updates to the platform. Revised suspension geometry, improved steering feel, a more structural body that cut weight and added rigidity. The Coyote V8 was refined for better throttle response and a broader power band. Ford also added a new digital instrument cluster, a 10-speed automatic option, and the most advanced performance electronics ever fitted to a base Mustang GT. Launch control, line lock, drag strip mode, track mode. For a car that starts under $45,000, the feature list is genuinely remarkable. But strip all of that away, and what you have is this, the purest expression of the American muscle car in the modern era. 480 horsepower, 8 cylinders, rear-wheel drive, a manual gearbox for those who want it, 60 years of history behind it, and it is still completely, totally, absolutely worth buying today. Number 7, and this is where we introduce the most dangerous car on this list. Not dangerous in a dramatic tow-happy press the wrong pedal sense, dangerous in the sense that it will absolutely humiliate you in a stoplight drag race, and you'll never see it coming. The Volkswagen Golf R. From the outside looks like a Golf, a well-dressed Golf, perhaps some discreet blue brake calipers, a subtle R badge, quad exhaust tips if you look closely enough. But it does not announce itself, it does not perform for observers, it simply exists, quietly, patiently waiting. And then you give it the road it deserves, and everything changes. The engine is a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, producing 315 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque. That torque arrives at just 2,000 RPM and stays there, flat, relentless and utterly committed across the entire rev range. 0 to 100 in 4.7 seconds, a top speed electronically limited to 249 km per hour, but with an optional aquapovic exhaust package and a few software tweaks, Golf R owners regularly see 290 plus in unrestricted environments. The chassis tells a similar story. The Golf R sits on Volkswagen's MQB platform, one of the most sophisticated front-wheel drive-based architectures in the industry. But with the Golf R, everything has been recalibrated. Stiffer springs, revised dampers, a rear differential that actively distributes torque across the rear axle, allowing the car to rotate in corners in a way that standard all-wheel drive systems simply cannot manage. The starting price is $46,000 for a car that will keep pace with vehicles costing twice that on a back road. The Golf R has one weakness, and it is the same one they always had. It makes performance feel too easy. There is no drama, no moment where the car reminds you that you're going very fast. It simply does it, composedly, confidently, and with a refinement that makes other hot hatches feel agricultural by comparison. Some drivers find that frustrating. They want involvement, they want their car to push back a little. But if what you want is to be genuinely, measurably, irrefutably fast, and to park in a supermarket and have nobody know, the Golf R is, in this regard, the best car on earth. Number 6. Some cars borrow from motorsport. The WRX was born in it. The Subaru World Rally Championship legacy is not a marketing angle. It is a fact. From 1995 to 2003, Subaru's rally team, driven by legends including Colin McRae, Richard Burns, and Petter Solberg, won 3 consecutive manufacturers' championships and 3 drivers' titles. They did it in the dirt, on ice, through mountain forest, at speeds that redefined what a road car platform could endure. The WRX carries that lineage into the street. Every generation has been shaped by lessons learned on stages where mistakes cost trophies, not just bodywork. The current WRX runs a 2.4-litre turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder, 271 horsepower, 350 Nm of torque. Symmetrical all-wheel drive. Subaru's term for a system where power is distributed equally and intelligently to all 4 wheels, giving the car stability in adverse conditions that competitors can only approximate. The 0 to 100 is in 5.1 seconds, and the top speed is 232 km per hour. The starting price is $32,000, making it one of the most affordable all-wheel drive performance cars on this entire list. But the WRX experience is not defined by its numbers, it's defined by its character. That boxer engine sits low in the chassis, contributing to a center of gravity that makes the car feel planted and stable in ways that upright inline engines cannot match. The turbocharger spools with a distinctive growl that WRX owners recognize and appreciate. The exhaust note is unlike anything on the road, a burbling mechanical sound that has its own identity. The WRX is not the most refined car on this list, it is not the smoothest, it is not the quietest or the most technologically sophisticated. What it is, definitively, unarguably, it is the most alive, it communicates, it involves you in the process, it wants you to drive it, not just sit in it. In an era where cars are becoming more automated, more digitally managed, and more disconnected from the physical experience of driving, the WRX is a resistance movement. Raw, mechanical, honest, brilliant. Number 5, and this is where the list changes permanently. Everything from here to number 1 represents a different tier of performance, a different level of engineering commitment, a different answer to the question of what a performance car can be when there are no compromises left to make. We start the top 5 with the Honda Civic Type R. In 2023, the Honda Civic Type R set the fastest front-wheel drive lap time ever recorded at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Not the fastest hot hatch lap time, not the fastest Japanese car lap time. The fastest front-wheel drive lap time, period, at one of the most demanding, most unforgiving, most consequential racing circuits on the planet. That record does not come from luck. It does not come from one perfect lap on a cool morning with a tailwind. It comes from engineering, from a car built with a singular obsessive purpose. The engine is a 2-liter VTEC turbocharged inline 4, 315 horsepower, 420 Newton meters of torque, sent entirely through the front wheels via a limited slip differential that manages wheel spin with the precision that makes other front-wheel drive performance cars look like they are guessing. The 0 to 100 is in 5 seconds. The top speed is 272 km per hour. A triple exhaust system, a central outlet flanked by 2 side pipes that produces a sound distinct enough to identify from 3 blocks away. The aerodynamics on this car are not decorative. Every wing, every duct, every carefully sculpted body surface was developed with functional intent. The front splitter generates downforce, the rear wing is adjustable and produces measurable aerodynamic load at speed. The underbody is flat to manage airflow. Honda's engineers spent hundreds of hours in computational fluid dynamic software and real-world track testing to get this right. On the suspension, a dual-axis strut front setup that separates the steering axis from the suspension axis. This allows the front wheels to both steer and handle cornering forces without compromising either job. This is the engineering detail that makes the Type R's front-wheel drive handling so remarkable. It does not fight itself the way conventional strut setups do. The starting price is $44,000 for a Nürburgring lap record holder. For a car with active aero, a limited slip differential, track-developed suspension, and 315 horsepower. The Type R is proof that front-wheel drive at the absolute frontier of what the configuration can achieve is still capable of producing something extraordinary. This car was not designed to be fast on paper, it was designed to be fast on asphalt, and the Nürburgring stopwatch confirms that it succeeded. Number 4. Ford looked at the Mustang GT, 480 horsepower, a V8 quarter-mile machine, and decided it wasn't enough. They were right. The Mustang Dark Horse is what happens when the engineers who built the GT500 are given a smaller budget and a freer brief. And what they came back with is one of the most technically interesting muscle cars ever produced. It features a uniquely tuned variant of the Coyote 5-liter V8, upgraded with connecting rods from the Shelby GT500 program and a dual-throttle body intake design. The result is a fierce 500 horsepower, 567 Nm of torque, 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds, and relentless top speed of 270 km per hour. Ford equipped the Dark Horse with a Torsen limited slip differential, a mechanical unit, not an electronic one, that distributes torque to the rear wheels with directness and predictability that more complex electronic differentials struggle to match. Under hard cornering, under hard acceleration, the Dark Horse's rear axle does exactly what you ask it to do. No delay, no electronic interpretation, pure mechanical response. The brakes are Brembo 6-piston monoblock units at the front. The standard tires are Pirelli P0 rubber, developed specifically for this car. A Magnaride adaptive damping system reads road surface inputs thousands of times per second and adjusts accordingly. And Ford included a full performance data logger as standard equipment, accelerometer, lap timer, telemetry overlay for video. This is not a luxury option. This is a Dark Horse saying, without ambiguity, that it was designed to be taken to a track. The starting price is $60,000 for track telemetry, Brembo brakes, and 500 screaming naturally aspirated horsepower. The Dark Horse is the Mustang that engineers built for themselves. You can feel every decision they made, and not a single one of them was made for comfort or convenience. Every single one was made for performance. Number 3. The BMW M2 is the company remembering who it is. For years, BMW M cars grew larger, heavier, more powerful on paper, but less involving in practice. The M5 became a luxury cruiser with the sport button. The M8 became a grand tourer that happened to have 600 horsepower. Even the M3, once the definitive driver's car, added weight, complexity, and driver assistance layers that softened the connection between car and the road. The M2 went the other direction, deliberately, aggressively, almost defiantly. Compact body, rear-wheel drive, with the option to disable every electronic aid and drive it the way it was meant to be driven. And then BMW did something remarkable. They took the S58 engine from the M3 competition, one of the finest engines the company has ever produced, and dropped it into the smaller, lighter, more focused platform. The S58 is a 3-litre twin-turbocharged inline-six, 453 horsepower, 550 newton meters of torque, the same engine that powers cars costing $20,000 more, in a chassis that is smaller, tighter, and more eager to rotate. 0 to 100 is in 4.1 seconds with the automatic. With the 6-speed manual, which we strongly recommend, fractionally slower on paper, but infinitely more satisfying to pull through the gates. The top speed is 285 kilometers per hour with the optional M drivers package, but the numbers, again, are not the point. The M2 steering is the point. It is direct, weighted, and deeply communicative. It tells you what the front tires are doing. It tells you how much grip is available. It tells you through your palms exactly where the limit is. The chassis balance is the point. With the rear-wheel drive setup, a 50-50 weight distribution, and adaptive M suspension, the M2 handles with a playfulness and precision that larger M cars can only approximate. It rotates on demand, it shows brakes beautifully, it rewards a driver who knows what they are doing, and forgives one who is learning. The sound is the point. That S58 inline-six produces a sound that BMW has refined over decades of motorsport, a layered mechanical addictive sound that gets louder and more urgent as the revs climb. The starting price is $65,000. Some will say that's expensive for a compact coupe. We say it is among the most justified $65,000 in the automotive market. The M2 is not a compromise between practicality and performance. It made no compromises at all. It is a driver's car, built for drivers, by engineers who understand exactly what that phrase means. This is what BMW does when they get it completely right. Number 2, and here we stop talking about performance and begin talking about mastery, the Porsche 718 Cayman. There is a reason automotive journalists, racing drivers, and engineers, people who understand cars at a technical level that goes far beyond enthusiasm, consistently point to the Cayman when asked what the ideal sports car looks like. It is not marketing, it is physics. The engine in the Cayman sits behind the driver and ahead of the rear axle, mid-engine, the ideal configuration for a sports car, because it places the heaviest component, the engine, as close to the car's center of gravity as possible. The result is a car that turns with precision and a balance that front engine and rear engine sports cars fundamentally cannot replicate. While entry-level 718 Cayman models start well under our $80,000 list, the entire platform inherits the exact same layout DNA that makes its higher-tier sibling, the GTS 4.0, the absolute benchmark of modern sports cars. No turbocharger lag, no electric assistance, just an engine breathing freely and a chassis built by a company that has been developing sports cars longer than most manufacturers have existed. The gearbox is among the finest manual transmissions on the market. Every gear change is a mechanical event worth savouring. The Cayman's ride is firm enough to communicate, yet supple enough to tolerate daily use. And the handling in corners, the Cayman does something that other cars talk about but few actually delivers. It becomes an instant extension of the driver's intent. Turning is immediate, mid-corner balance is neutral and adjustable. It is, by nearly every measure, a more capable car on a technical circuit than the legendary 911. Porsche engineers know this. They have always known this. There's a reason the 911 costs significantly more. At any price point on this model line, you're getting more sports car per dollar than almost anything else on the market. The 718 Cayman is a masterpiece, an argument-ending, category-defining, benchmark-setting masterpiece. We are putting it at number 2 only because one car, one American car, priced within our budget, does something even the Cayman cannot. Number 1, the Chevrolet Corvette C8. America built a mid-engine supercar, and it changed everything. For 68 years, the Corvette was front-engined. Through 8 generations, through multiple engine configurations, through every era of American automotive history, the engine sat ahead of the driver. It was a formula that worked. The Corvette was fast, iconic, and genuinely competitive with the European sports cars. But it always lived in a shadow. There was always a ceiling, a point where physics said, this is as far as front-engine sports cars can go. In 2020, Chevrolet moved the engine, and the ceiling disappeared. Behind the driver in the C8 Corvette sits a 6.2-litre naturally aspirated V8, the LT2, producing 495 horsepower and 637 Nm of torque. It is mated to an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission that Chevrolet co-developed with Tremec specifically for this application. Shifts take less than 100 milliseconds. The response is immediate, mechanical, and deeply satisfying. 0 to 100 is in 2.9 seconds. Read that again. 2.9 seconds. That is supercar territory. That is Ferrari territory. That is the kind of number that used to require spending $300,000 and flying to Maranello to take delivery. The top speed is 312 km per hour, naturally aspirated, remember, and the base C8 starts at just $67,000. Let's talk about that number, $67,000. A Ferrari 296 GTP starts at well over $320,000. McLaren approaches $300,000. The Porsche 911 GT3 clears $180,000 easily. All of these cars produce comparable performance to the C8 Corvette. Some of them the Corvette outright beats in acceleration. At $67,000, the C8 Corvette is not just competitive with cars costing 2, 3, and 4 times as much. It defeats many of them outright. The mid-engine layout transformed the car's handling. The weight distribution is near perfect. The front axle is light and responsive, and the rear has absolute traction and stability. In corners, the C8 does what the Cayman does. It communicates, it balances, it rewards. But with 495 horsepower behind the driver instead of 394, that difference is felt instantly. The cabin is entirely driver-focused, well-built, and features a 12-inch diagonal instrument cluster angled aggressively toward the cockpit. This is a car that you can drive every single day, and on that same day, take to a track and be faster than machinery that costs 3 times as much. That is the miracle of the C8 Corvette. It doesn't ask you to choose between supercar performance and everyday usability. It doesn't ask you to choose between track credentials and financial sanity. It gives you everything, all of it, without compromise, and it asks for $67,000. Nothing at this price point touches it. Nothing at twice this price point embarrasses it. The Chevrolet Corvette Stingray is the #1 performance car under $80,000, and it isn't close. 10 cars, 10 different answers to the same question. What does performance mean to you? The Miata says performance is feel. The GR86 says it's the sound of a naturally aspirated engine at the limit. The Mustang GT says it's 8 cylinders firing in sequence. The Golf R says it's the quiet confidence of being faster than anyone around you knows. The WRX says performance is a connection to motorsport history. The Type R says it's a Nürburgring lap record. The Dark Horse says it's a track-bred Coyote V8 with standard telemetry because the track is where this car lives. The M2 says performance is what happens when a manufacturer decides to make no compromises whatsoever. The Cayman says performance is perfection, balance, and absolute mastery. And the C8 Corvette says performance is available to everyone who has $67,000 and the sense to spend it correctly. Every car on this list is extraordinary. Every single one is worth buying, worth driving, worth caring about. Now that we've crossed the finish line, I want to hear from you. Head down to the comments right now and type out your absolute favorite car from this list. Did America take the crown for you with the C8, or are you backing mid-engine German engineering with the Cayman? If you want to stay updated on the best machines on earth, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive. This has been Revlord. If you drove it today, roar with authority. We will see you in the next one.